given 12x cubed minus 16x raised to the power of 6, to get the answer, first you need to get the GCF of 12 and 16, and that will be 4. Second, get the GCF of the exponents, which is x cubed. Third, divide 12 by 4 and 16 by 4. So the answer for these two is 3 and 4. Then lastly, divide the exponents 6 and 3, and that will be x cubed. Hence, the answer is 12x cubed minus 16x raised to the power of 6 is 4x cubed times 3 minus 4x cubed. Difference of two squares. 4x squared minus 25. First, you need to get the square root of the given. The square root of 4x squared is 2x, and in 25 is 5. Second, copy the square roots, then multiply. 2x minus 5 and 2x plus 5. Since 25 is negative, multiply positive 5 and negative 5. So, the answer for 4x squared minus 25 is 2x minus 5 times 2x plus 5. Sum or difference of two cubes. 27a 6 minus 1000b cubed. First, get the GCF of the given and the exponent. So, the GCF of 27a 6 is 3a squared, and for 1000b cubed is 10b. So, the answer is 3a squared minus 10b. Second, multiply the first given variable of the answer, which is 3a squared, so that will be 9a raised to the power of 4. Third, multiply the first given variable to the second variable, and that will be 30a squared b. Fourth, multiply the second variable of the answer, so 10b will be now 100b squared. So the answer of 27a 6 minus 1000b cubed is 3a squared minus 10b. 9a raised to the power of 4 plus 10a squared b plus 100b squared. Perfect square trinomial. X plus 2 squared. First, multiply the first variable by itself, so x will be now x squared. Second, multiply the first variable by the second variable and multiply by 2. So, x plus 2, if multiplied, will be 2x. Then multiply by 2, so that will be 4x. Lastly, multiply the second variable by itself. So, 2 will be now 4. So, the answer of x plus 2 squared is x squared plus 4x plus 4. Dependent and independent variable. Dependent and independent variable. We will know that the given is dependent because it depends on an independent variable, while the independent controls the dependent variable. For example, the given are time and salary. We considered time as independent variable because it controls the salary, and we considered salary as a dependent variable because it depends on the number of hours worked or time. If-then statement. An if-then statement is composed of two clauses, the if clause and the then clause. We can denote a letter for each clause. P for the if clause and Q for the then clause. The statement is in the form if P then Q. Conditional statements are formed by joining two statements P and Q using the words if and then. The P statement is called hypothesis and the Q is in the conclusion. The three other forms of the statement are the converse, inverse, and contrapositive. In converse, the Q is in the if clause and P is now in the then clause. The statement is in the form if Q then P. In inverse, the P is for the if not clause and Q is for then not clause. The statement is in the form if not P then not Q. In contrapositive, the Q is for the if not clause and P is for the then not clause. The statement now is in the form if not Q then not P. For example, the statement given, an even number is divisible by 2 and 3. The answer in the if-then statement, if the number is even, then it is divisible by 2 and 3. The answer in converse statement, if the number is divisible by 2 and 3, then it is even. The answer in inverse statement, if the number is not even, then it is not divisible by 2 and 3. The answer in contrapositive, if the number is not divisible by 2 and 3, then it is not even. Two kinds of reasoning. Inductive reasoning. Inductive reasoning is looking for a pattern or trend and then generalizing it. When you generalize and extrapolate the information, you don't know for sure if this trend will continue, but you assume it will. You, therefore, don't know for sure that a conclusion based on inductive reasoning will be 100% true. Deductive reasoning. In general terms, deductive reasoning means using a given set of facts or data to deduce other facts from by reasoning logically. Deductive reasoning can be used to prove that these new facts are true. Properties of equality. Property of equality. If A is equal to B, then A plus C equal to B plus C. Subtraction property of equality. If A is equal to B, then A minus C is equal to B minus C. Multiplication property of equality. If A is equal to B, then A times C is equal to B times C. Division property of equality. If A is equal to B, then AC is equal to BC. Commutative property of equality. For real number A and B, A plus B is equal to B plus A. A times B is equal to B times A. Associative property of equality. For real numbers A, B, and C, A plus B plus C is equal to A plus B plus C. A times B times C is equal to A times B times C. Distributive property of equality. For any real numbers A, B, and C, A times B plus C is equal to A times B plus A times C. Transitive property. For real numbers A, B, and C, if A is equal to B and B is equal to C, then A is equal to C. Triangle congruence postulates. Side postulate states that if three sides of one triangle are congruent to three sides of another triangle, then these two triangles are congruent. SAS postulate. Side angle side postulate states that if two sides in the included angle of one triangle are congruent to two sides in the included angle of another triangle, then these two triangles are congruent. ASA. Angle-side angle states that if two angles on the included side of one triangle are congruent to two angles on the included side of another triangle, then the triangles are congruent. AAS postulate. Angle side. If two angles and non-included side of one triangle are congruent to the corresponding parts of another triangle, then the triangles are congruent. In order to use this postulate, it is essential that the congruent sides not be included between the two pairs of congruent angles. Inequalities in one triangle. Triangle inequality theorem 1. If one side of a triangle is longer than the second side, then the angle opposite the first side is larger than the angle opposite the second side. Triangle inequality theorem 2. If one angle of a triangle is larger than a second angle, then the side opposite the first angle is longer than the side opposite the second angle. Triangle inequality theorem 3. The sum of the lengths of any two sides of a triangle is greater than the length of the third side. Exterior angle inequality theorem. The measure of an exterior angle of a triangle is greater than the measure of either remote interior angle. Exterior angle is an angle that forms a linear pair with an interior of a triangle when a side of the triangle is extended. Interior angle is the two interior angles of a triangle not adjacent to the exterior angle. Perpendicularity. Perpendicular. Lines, rays, or segments that intersect at right angles. Perpendicular bisector of a line segment is a line or a ray or another line segment that is perpendicular to the line segment and intersects it at its midpoint. Perpendicular distance is the distance between two parallel lines. Probability rules. The probability of any event is a number, either a fraction, a decimal, or a percent, between and including 0 to 1. If an event will never happen, then its probability is 0. If an event is sure to happen, then its probability is 1. The sum of the probabilities of all the outcomes in the sample space is